Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice is directed by Zack Snyder, just like the previous film of Man of Steel, and it tells the story of Superman under fire from the public for the actions he took in the last movie and currently caused a huge uproar and a lot of things he's standing accused of here and now in this current film. And let's just put it down to this: he's a controversial figure. And parallel to that, Bruce Wayne was there the day Metropolis was leveled to the ground and lost people he knew and cared about. So he wants to wage war against this alien as a mortal human being. Side to that, we have Lex Luthor planning something to do with a Kryptonian rock, and unfortunately, he's going through hoops just to get that taken care of, so people are just standing in his way. And let's be honest, there's a lot of different characters at play. Lois Lane has a part to play in all this. This mysterious Diana Prince. I wonder who she becomes later. I don't know. I guess I'd have to go check the trailers just in case. I don't remember at all. I don't know who this character is. And for all intents and purposes, this is going to be a spoiler video because, let's face it, the word goes around very fast and half of the movie was spoiled for you anyway. Here we go. I saw this movie in theaters twice. Is it worth seeing twice in theaters? For me, yes. Because at first, I didn't get it. It didn't sit well with me. I had issues with how many people were at play, what motives were what, and why they were doing these things. It's all stretched out in this movie, and you kind of have to shake your head and go, wait, what? When did this happen? Or why did that happen in that way? So, if anyone's really wondering, what did I like or loved about BVS? Superman. I love the controversy surrounding him, and while that remains a huge aspect of the character in this film, he still continues doing what is right. And it's because he continues doing that only adds to the ideology. That's what I always can stand behind, is no matter what you're doing, even if you think it's right, and it is right, and you got people going, nah, 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 it just adds that much more integrity. Batman. Ben Affleck is actually really good in this. He really does embody a good Bruce Wayne. His motives for killing people and his position in the timeline is currently where he's at mentally and in his life. But it's a bit of a mystery, so it depends on where you're at with Batman. If you find the purest form of Batman to be he doesn't kill people, he doesn't do this, he does that, he's hyper intelligent, all that stuff, that's one. This is a totally different version where he's kind of lost all hope and he's gone in an obsessive rage since Superman leveled Metropolis and all that stuff. But I rather enjoyed Ben Affleck's portrayal as Bruce Wayne. Lex. Wait, hold on, before you go clacking away on that keyboard going, are you frickin' nuts? I'll explain a little bit more later on in this video why I liked him, but he was crazy, manipulative, puny looking, twitchy, and he was probably the most enjoyable part in this film. And more on that why I think that later. This is a dark film, no doubt. I realize that it's almost too dark, but I really felt the cinematography was gorgeous. I dug it. Dug it! But the layouts and the set pieces and most of the CGI was done really well. And let's be honest, I think that there were some mature elements I think that were handled very well. The only downside is how they were conveyed. The music. The music. Do we really have to argue against the music? The music is beautiful. It's freaking fantastic. And that's a lot of what I loved. But let me level with you haters out there. If there is one thing I hated in this movie more than anything, it's this scene and this scene.
Am I too soon? No! I'm too soon!
They were back to back. It's a dream sequence, or was it? It's not that they were bad or poorly acted. It's the fact that they were poorly placed and terribly executed to a point I was absolutely 100% confused as to why it was there in the first place. Look, for at least the first hour, I was actually fine with this movie. I was loving it. The small play against Bruce and Clark, the weirdness of Lex Luthor, all of it. None of it bothered me until those two scenes showed up. And then I was like, what the flying fun. The second hour into this film, I felt like there were scenes just totally separate from one another. It's a lot of showing but not telling, when the telling should be crucial to know right about now. When Bruce is training himself back into shape, I'm not entirely sure what reason he's holding on to anymore as to why he wants to kill Superman. Is it the Senate hearings that pushed him over the edge? Is it the checks with the little notes? Were those the catalysts? No. Oh, sorry. That's right. It's what he said earlier.
He has the power to wipe out the entire human race, and if we believe there's even a 1% chance that he is our enemy, we have to take it as an absolute certainty.
And that's really all that we're given. So by the time it comes down to the big brawl, the final showdown, it's not great conflict. Another problem that I had with this was, well, this scene. Just this piece of dialogue.
I understand.
That moment sounded so forced. It wasn't even logical to say that in that moment. Like, what are you thinking? He's trying to talk to you, and you're just gonna come up to him and go,
I understand.
You deserve to be pushed away, Bruce. Go away. Okay, here is the fundamental problem with this movie. No two motives are clear as to why they are getting ready to fight, and the reasons to continue fighting are just reactions for the sake of reactions. If they wrote Superman's part a little more and a little better in that fight scene, all they would have to say is, okay, you don't want to talk. Let's talk with our fists.
Let's dance. And by dance, I mean let's try to kill each other.
Something like that. Show that Superman understands that Batman won't see reason right now. Instead, Superman is just making threats.
Stay down! If I wanted it, you'd be dead already.
He doesn't do anything to placate the situation. And before that scene, that last scene I told you about I had a problem with, I'm going to explain. Bruce receives two visions, and one of them was the Flash coming out and saying,
You're right about him! You've always been right about him!
First off, that entire scene is ignored after it's done. Like it never happened. Bruce doesn't reflect back on it. He doesn't tell anyone. He just says to Alfred,
And if we believe there's even a 1% chance that he is our enemy, we have to take it as an absolute certainty.
that's it! Bruce has one reason to fight Superman. Superman's got his mother to save and tries to convince Bruce to help him on it, but he's not doing a very good job of it. They're too busy trying to keep Superman as like the silent type, and he's just not using his words effectively enough to tell Bruce he needs help. So then you get this scene.
I understand.
What the hell is going on? Besides that, the brawl between Superman and Batman is good. All the intense, brutal violence one can eat up, but it's in the end where it comes down to that Martha scene where I felt it was handled rather poorly. Forcefully executed, badly realized, but it had a clever concept in the end. I would have bought it if they did that better. But you have to keep in mind there was only a mistrust between these two titans, considering they barely know each other and only knew of one another. So when the tension is diffused under the idea that their mothers are sharing the same name, it's the only thing needed to make Batman go, oh, this guy's a human being, and he's got a girlfriend. He's a 0% threat, despite the fact that he's got Flash saying, "Scare him!" Maybe it's left up to interpretation. It's not really going on in Batman's head.
I understand.
Batman v Superman is really a mess of a movie. Breaking down what I disliked really comes down to the fact of the matter that the character development is all over the place, but it wasn't enough for Superman, and it was narrow-minded for Batman. Now, let's talk about Lex here for a second.
Boy, do we have problems up here.
I didn't mind him. And it's because this was not the Lex we wanted or expected. Even worse, his plan wasn't exactly wanted either. Pit two titans together and win, and if that does not work out, make an abomination. Okay, Lex, you can go into the corner and think about what you've done.
Fight night.
So, two things. The Doomsday plotline really didn't come out of nowhere. It's just convoluted in the means of a backup plan that Lex had made. Either way, whatever happened, it was always going to come down to Doomsday. But because it didn't, and one result came down to Batman and Superman becoming best friends, this plotline really didn't bother me. It's just the CGI of Doomsday. I mean, kind of looks like crap. And as for Lex himself, he too did not bother me. Why? Mostly because in the world of two brooding men dealing with their individual problems, Lex really added some flavor to the whole proceeding. He's weird. He's kooky.
Now, if you kill me, Martha dies.
He's psychotic.
That is a three-syllable word for any thought too big for little minds.
And perfect for this dark tone this movie has.
Mother of God! Would you look at the time? When you came here, you had an hour. Now it's less.
Problem is, he's a very dark character himself. He's just eccentric about it. Does that mean that's great? No. Does that mean you should like it? No. Does that mean that I liked it? Yes, of course, because I like those different dynamics. I would find the fact in the end of all things that Superman dying and the reason why you probably did not feel or care enough or felt connected to that moment is because they did not convey his character well enough to go through in a redemption period. That's it. They kept him quiet, untalkative, upset over humanity. Last thing he said before he talked to Batman and Lois was, "No one stays good in this world anymore." And then, for him to die doesn't convey much at all. He just died because he made a sacrifice. Because that's what heroes do. But with Superman, he did not have an arc that was complete. We were so focused on the other characters, we didn't latch onto Superman. He was a controversial figure, yes, but if the story saw fit to come down on one side or the other, as if he was actually accepted or not, we would have seen a side of Superman worth fighting for. Instead, he's hanging on for dear life in the harshness of the world while still trying to do good and people still doubting him. So he dies without leaving an imprint, just uncertainty. You make death the answer to the problems, and that's just not good. I'll say again, Batman v Superman is just a mess of a movie. It's barely functional. It has enough great concepts and ideas. It becomes a shell of what it tried to execute, and yet I walked out liking it more than most. How weird is that? I didn't hate this movie like, say, Movie Bob or any other fan that I've met personally. And some of them were expecting this to be good, so they did not go out just trying to hate this film. They really wanted something good here. And I did find some good qualities stated in this video. I'm not saying that it's not worth seeing any more than it's actually a really great debate piece. Whether you hated it or loved it, that's where I'm at. I like it because it's a debate piece. So I did actually have a rating for this, and I was gonna say I liked it and own it on Blu-ray, but then I kind of got thinking, you love guilty pleasure movies. You hate them but love them because they're terrible, but they are something good in it for you. So I just thought Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice is a guilty pleasure of mine, and I own it on Blu-ray. Maybe it's not worth it the same to you as it is for me, but this is where I stand. I think this is rather weird, but at the same time, I'd love to know your thoughts on the matter. If you disagree with me wholeheartedly, or agree to some certain extent, or maybe agree wholly, I would love to know what you think. Did you like the points I made, or did you completely disagree? Let me know down in the comments. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this was a difficult review to make. It's overly long. I do apologize about that. I do hope that you stayed with me this entire time, but I know that there's a lot of hate surrounding this film, so I wanted to at least cover a couple of points to me that I felt were a little bothersome or stuff that I liked. Anyway, like I said, those are my thoughts on BVS. Next up is Suicide Squad. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Any comment, any like, any sharing, any subscription, I would wholeheartedly appreciate if you could. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, until next time.